Okay, we're going to get started. Thank you for all of you who are here in attendance, and thank you for those who are joining us on Zoom. This is the October meeting of the North End Neighborhood Council, and a couple of announcements. So we do this each time. There are various ways of reaching us through Facebook, our website, email, and we did meet with our IT consultant a little bit earlier today. So those areas will be improving over the next month or so, and we will have a better way of communicating with you. We are definitely looking for some new board members. Our bylaws have us, our elections are in November, which is next month. So we will be electing a new board in November. Anybody who's got any interest, please reach out to us. We would love to. We are a little under represented on the number of people. I think we can have up to 15 board members. I think we've got about 10. So we definitely could have some more. Please reach out to any of us if you're interested. And perhaps you could even, if you're interested, come in person next month and we can elect you in person. NENC board announcements, most of those are going to be addressed in actual items that we have coming up. So I'm not going to address those now. I need a motion to approve the minutes of September. Alex, our secretary, has produced those and circulated them to the board members. I have one change, which is to take out the third and fourth bullets under announcements, but otherwise, can I have a motion for their approval as presented?
Motion to approve.
Okay, Jody is motion, and I need a second from Ty. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
The treasurer's report, Jody has circulated that to board members, and the good news that is our outstanding balance at the moment is $14,360. We will be spending down some of that as we get into our improvements in our communications programs. If anybody has any questions about the treasurer, please reach out to Jody. I think you all know how to reach her. We now move into liaison, and we have a request from Greg to be up first. So Greg, come and be our first presenter.
Thank you very much. Everybody hear me? I'm Greg Tambera from Tacoma Pierce County Health Department. Hello to everybody in the room and all you folks that are on the screen there too. Hi, how you doing? Each month I come to the neighborhood council and just give everybody a little update from the health department. I am going to send Peter more information, web links and that sort of thing on the things that I'm going to talk about. So you can look forward to that coming out just as soon as possible. I think my contact information is on our website. Is that correct still? Phone number and email address should be there. But these are the four things I just wanted to mention while I'm up here. First of all, as some of you know, I also work on a special project in the North End, the Tacoma Smelter Plume Project. So people who have questions about arsenic and lead that might be in their soils left from that ASARCO smelter, you can contact me. Second thing I'll just mention real quickly is monkeypox, or MPV, is winding down. So we did not have as many cases as some places. I think there were probably a little bit less than 50 that we've had to date in this county. But the main thing to know about that is if you have flu-like symptoms and then have a rash, you should probably check with I would say you should check with your healthcare provider. Possibly monkeypox. There's a very good vaccine that'll take care of you, but it is extremely uncomfortable, especially for young people. COVID cases have been going up a little bit as school has started. Hospitalizations rates are up a little bit. we're hoping that this winter season will not be as bad as other seasons, but that's what we're kind of waiting for, is this back to school, people staying indoors more, and the holidays coming up. So there are precautions that you can take. I think everybody knows what those are. And those precautions also work for, guess what, the flu. We're headed in flu season here. So flu season really starts sometime in late October. So it is not too late to get your flu vaccine. In fact, I would encourage you to do that. It takes a couple of weeks for that to actually take effect. This is what the concern is, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but this season is the first season that, you know, we've had fewer of the COVID protocols in place. And so one of the things that we want to watch out for is probably our natural resistance to the flu is lower, especially for the younger ones who have not gotten their flu shots yet. First series you take when you're very young is two, you get 2 shots. So those need to be separated. So especially for the young folks, it's very important. So I will take any quick questions. Anybody got any questions? Yes. We're getting a mic here. Okay.
Question is, how close are we in our COVID-19 levels to warrant any type of action?
I'm sorry, what kind of action?
How close are we to warrant any type of action at all?
I don't know when that'll come about. It appears, I mean, there are still lots of people getting hospitalized. It is still very, very communicable. You can catch it really easy. There are variants that are developing all the time. So I can't tell you if there's a switch, but I will tell you that right now, Pierce County, we are low level risk, which is good, which is very good. So we know what to do. We know what to do to stay safe. So we just need to make sure that we continue doing that. And our chances of getting to a point, continuing to be at a low level risk is good. But I got a feeling we're going to be at a low level risk for the foreseeable future.
It's great. Thank you.
That's just my feeling. Okay. Oh, yes, over here. Let's get, are you at the mic? No, can't hear you. No, what? You want to join me up here? Oh, here comes another mic. 2 more mics. Okay.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
What's the youngest age that a child can be vaccinated at this point?
For COVID is 6 months.
Is 6 months? Okay.
Yes. And I think it's probably, I don't know right off the top of my head, but it's probably around that for the flu also.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. They use really small needles for those guys. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. And I will send that information to you.
Thank you very much, Greg. We really appreciate you coming in. Alyssa, do you want to come up and give your presentation?
All right. I am Elisa O'Hanlon Regala. I'm with Metro Parks. And Greg, I got my flu shot last week. So, and my COVID booster is coming up this week. So I'm all up to date on health department things. 2 big things happening at Metro Parks right now. One, it's budget season. And so if you did not get an opportunity, I'm pulling up my timeline. If you didn't get an opportunity to weigh in on the budget survey that was online, it closed last night. We had over 3,000 respondents. The budget, there's always a public hearing on the budget, and that will happen on November 14th. That's a Monday night, a regular park board meeting. So that's the first hearing on the budget, November 14th at 5 p.m. at the headquarters building over near Cheney Stadium. And then there is a second public hearing on the budget that's going to be noon tentatively. So for people who can't make it in the evenings, we're going to do a midday one. This is tentatively for December 5th, which is a Wednesday. So that would be the second public hearing. Yeah, so if you want more information about the budget or want to weigh in on the budget, attend one of those public hearings. If you want more information, go ahead and let me know. And then also happening in the district right now, money. It's always about money. I'm looking for my notes. You might have started to see signs around about, yes, Tacoma Parks. There will be an initiative on the November 8th ballot about the levy rate for Metro Parks. It is a restoration of the levy of the tax that we can levy for maintenance and operations of parks. Currently, Metro Parks collects 46 cents per thousand, and our limit is that we can collect up to 75 cents per thousand of assessed value. The reason it's eroded is the way that Washington's tax structure is. And so the way the calculation, it just naturally started to erode back in 2016. So we used to collect 75 cents between the years of 2011 to 2016, and it has since 2016 eroded down to the 46 cents. So to collect back up to our maximum amount, voters have to approve that restoration. And so I can tell you that some of the things that it would pay for in maintenance or operations are health, safety, and security issues in our parks, developing a new ranger program, park maintenance, replacement of aging infrastructure like picnic tables and benches, to be able to keep up with the maintenance of new additions like Dune Peninsula, like Swan Creek Park. During COVID, the district made a big shift in providing activities for children, and so now provides what's called Beyond the Bell for elementary schools and Club Beyond in middle schools in partnership with the Tacoma School District. So youth can go directly into those activities, and that was all paid for. We had to make that shift. The community really said, you know, for those of us parents that still have to work, we need childcare for our children. So Metro Parks made that big shift to partner with public schools to provide that childcare. We also made the shift that youth under 18 would have free membership to community centers. So those things for youth were all paid for with dollars that were distributed from the federal government in response to the pandemic. And restoration of the levee would also pay for a lot of forest protection. So think of Point Defiance Park, and it's a different world today, I'll say, in terms of caring for the forest and climate change and the threats that exist. So forest protection, youth activities, maintenance, health, safety, and security, those are the things in operations and maintenance that the levy would pay for. So however you vote, I just want to encourage you to vote on November 8th. That's the big message. Remember to vote. Any questions?
I have a quick question. 3,000 responses or inputs sounds like a lot. Was that due to the budget or some other driver?
Oh, so I think that's more response than we've had on the budget before. Did a lot of outreach this summer, our community engagement team, which is a much more robust team post-pandemic. We're really focusing on how to get out to community events. And so we had an online survey that people really turned out for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. We really appreciate you coming. Liz, do you want to come up and I think you're going to introduce somebody to us?
Hello again, everybody. For those of you I have not yet met, my name is Liz Collins. I'm the Community Liaison Officer here at UPS and Director of the Office of the President. I am delighted to introduce Dave Ferber, who is our new Director of Security Services here at University of Puget Sound, and you are on camera with about 28 additional people. So say hi.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here. I moved from Omaha, Nebraska 3 weeks ago, so I've been enjoying change in scenery and getting to meet a lot of nice people. Still better than when I came from. So
Thank you very
Yep.
much. We're delighted Dave's here. Already doing great things for us. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, producer Peter Pennant. Two more things. So in order to better support our graduate students here at University of Puget Sound, we have used some existing space and remodeled a house on the corner of North 11th and Lawrence now to support our graduate students who have somewhat different schedules from our undergraduate students. So we're looking forward to really offering that sort of robust opportunity to support those students there in a space they can call their own between classes before and after. There are several upcoming events open to the community, including the Jacobson series in person and online at Schneebeck Live. And that's SCHNEEBECK Live. And these are being held in the Schneebeck Concert Hall, and you can also watch virtually. Fall Festival Chorus, Symphony Orchestra, Delphian Vocal, and we are determined to get out of the habit of calling ourselves the best kept secret in higher education. You'll be seeing a lot more about the University of Puget Sound in and around town and across the nation. So thank you, everybody, for your ongoing support, and I'd be happy to take any questions you might have. That's a rousing silence. I'll leave these in the back if anyone would like to see upcoming concerts. Yes.
So I'm looking at this Schneebeck Live site, and for this Friday, we've got Oregon at Noon series, and then later on Jazz Orchestra, and then the Fall Festival of Choirs at 4 p.m. on Sunday.
Thank you.
Sounds phenomenal.
Thank you.
How are we getting this information out to the public, and can we share?
Please,
Okay.
please do. Yeah.
This looks great.
Yeah, it's our aim to be a community asset, and the much we can share our great gifts here and talents of our students, faculty, and staff. It's really what we want to do. So thank you.
It's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you, University of Puget Sound. We just really appreciate being able to meet here and use all of your audio visual stuff as well. So we're going to work our way down through the people. I can't see everybody, so I'm going to rely on Brad to give me some pointers, but I do see Lanny. So perhaps, do you want to go ahead, Lanny?
Sure, thank you. Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lonnie Folks. I'm with Pierce Transit in the Community Development Department, and I just have a few exciting Pierce Transit announcements. So today, I attended the Spanaway Transit Center groundbreaking event. In attendance was Senator Tawana Nobles and Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland. So it was a very exciting event today in Spanaway. And so the transit center will be built during this next year. And once construction is completed, there will be 250 parking stalls at that transit center located on 207th and Pacific Avenue. So across from the Walmart, more across actually from the like a Jack in the Box shopping area there. So it's very exciting. We haven't had a transit center under construction in years. So this is our newest one in the past several years. Also, there, we are also excited about the free youth transit pass. So all youth 18 and under can ride transit statewide for free. So all they would need to do is show their youth Orca card or their school ID card to board and ride Pierce Transit, King County Metro, Sound Transit, Kitsap Transit, Community Transit, the train, bus, monorail, water taxi, that's all included in the free youth transit pass program. Also, we still have our runner service that runs in 4 different zones: the Reston Way and Point Reston area, JBLM, Tide Flats, and now we just launched our 4th service in the Spanaway, Parkland, Midland area. And the runner is an on-demand service where you just make a phone call, they would pick you up within the zone and drop you off within the zone. And it's only a $2 fee to take a trip on the runner. And it's a minivan, and we contract with MedStar, and they disinfect the van after every use. And I tried it once over at Point Reston, and I took it from Tacoma Dome Station to Point Reston, and it was quick and easy and inexpensive. Also, lastly, we are still hiring at Pierce Transit, probably like everybody else: public safety officers, bus operators, mechanics, and admin staff. So I will leave my contact information in the chat, but I do welcome your questions.
We have a question. You
Great.
need a microphone.
I was interested in the runner service, but I was very confused on how to pay for it because they don't take cash. But is there an Orca tap card, or do you pay when you paying for it? Was not obvious when I went to the website. I searched everywhere, like, how do I pay for this service to use it?
Right. Yeah, I believe you just show your Orca card.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
you're
It
correct.
doesn't reduce my Orca balance then?
I don't think, I
Eh.
don't know how they're gonna do. I didn't have to use my Orca card, so I don't know, but I'm gonna look at that right now during our meeting and see how they charge us.
Yeah, I literally searched everything thinking, okay, showing my Orca card doesn't take $2 off my Orca card. I mean, I
Right.
like that plan, however. So that was my question, is how do I pay for it? Because I live in Old Town, and getting to Point Reston without having to drive and park there is
Oh,
a
nice.
plus.
Yes, I will look it up right now. Or I can also text the customer service manager. So I'll find out.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
if you find the answer, Lonnie, just put it in the chat, and then
Absolutely.
Brad can give the answer out to the meeting.
Yes, I will find it here by the end of the meeting for sure.
And the only mode of transport you don't get free for the under 18s is the Pierce County ferry to Anderson Island, but it's still only $2.80, I think, for a child. Well worth it.
That's a deal. Yeah.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. We appreciate your participation as always.
My
And I
pleasure.
see several faces from the police department, so I'm not quite sure who's going to be giving their report. So whoever it is, please speak up, and
Well,
hopefully.
I'm going to talk first, and then I'm going to pass it off to your new liaison. So a couple of things for the police department. We're still working on the chief's and violent crime reduction plan that he discussed in the last meeting. So that's still, we're knee deep in it on phase 1, and we're working through it as best we can to hopefully deter more violent crime in the city, or get rid of it completely. That would be the ultimate goal. Another thing is we are also actively hiring. Anybody, please, friends, family, if you know anyone, send them our way. We'd be happy to explain the hiring process or get them in contact with our recruiting officers. My next thing is, they gave me a partner. I get to share my workload. That's what Officer Kristen Brazil is here for. She's going to be your newest contact here, and she will be from now on at the majority of the meetings for you here at the North End Neighborhood Council. And so I'm going to let her introduce herself so you guys can get to know her.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kristen Brazil. As Anna said, I'm her new partner in crime. So I'll be working in the 2 sector with her. It's only my 5th day, so I'm still kind of figuring. I'm excited to be here and work with all of you guys. I will put all of my contact information in the chat. So If you guys have any questions or issues or anything like that, you need to get a hold of me. You can reach out to me. I'll leave my number and my email as well. So this is the first meeting I've attended, and kind of just taking a look at everybody's faces, and hope to see all of you guys again soon. So yeah, thank you for having me, and nice to meet you guys.
That's all we have. We got
So-
short and sweet today.
So how about any questions for the police department? I have one question, and
I'll do
you're
my
talking
best
ab-
to answer, and if I can't get it, I'll email you.
Okay, so you talk about recruitment, and I know that you advertise and give all these signing bonuses. Does everybody who gets transferred in always come in at the bottom, or can you transfer across as a sergeant or as a whatever else it is?
No, if you come from another department as a lateral officer, you have to start back on patrol, and you have to do, I think it's 3 years on patrol before you can move into another branch. Because because of how the experience a patrol officer in Tacoma gets is significantly more than, say, Sumner or some of these smaller cities. And so even though you've been a sergeant for 13 years, we can't say that you've done enough, the same amount that's required here in this big city. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you won't be seeing my daughter, but that's that.
Oh, sorry. Dang it. We'll take her. We'll help. We'll talk.
We're going to change the order up a little bit. We've got Councilman Hines here, so we're going to take him, and then we'll come back to the remaining liaison reports after he's given his report. But I know he's got another meeting to go to. And then, John, I think you're also going to address the Proctor neighborhood plan as well as your other issues. So please welcome Councilman Hines.
No, on the camera here. Oh, there we go. I can see myself. No, interesting side note, the former police chief of Ruston is now a patrol officer here in Tacoma, if I'm not mistaken. So if you come here, you do go into the patrol office. So John Hines, Tacoma City Council District 1, so for the West End and North End, and Councilor Rumbaugh wanted me to extend her apologies. She couldn't be here this evening, but she really wanted to be here. She loves coming to the North End Neighborhood Council. So let me just talk a little bit about, I guess I'll start currently with the Proctor Neighborhood Planning project that launched last Thursday with our planathon, our digital planathon. I think there were 60 people that were in attendance for that. It was a great opportunity just to get the kind of wheels turning on the Proctor neighborhood plan. The city started with the McKinley Hill plan, and that's ongoing right now. They'll be finishing that up here in the next couple of weeks. And then the Proctor one's just starting. So I thought it was great. I heard a lot of good things from people, lots of things that people really love about Proctor, that it's walkable, that it has kind of the small businesses that are there, that it has kind of everything a neighborhood needs, a library, grocery stores, all the stuff that people want to see in our neighborhoods. So that was great to hear. Kind of moving forward, there's going to be a Proctor steering committee that's going to be meeting more regularly and talking about kind of the Proctor neighborhood plan. There'll be further engagement opportunities for residents and neighbors of Proctor to kind of get more engaged with it. Coming up on this Saturday, there's a Proctor neighborhood walk that's at 10 a.m. It's done by Gritty City Tours. I can't remember exactly where it's starting. I think it starts at the library, if I'm not, Jody. Yep. At the Alan C. Mason statue there is where we're going to start at 10 a.m. So I will be there. It is homecoming weekend at the University of Puget Sound, so I'll be spending most of the weekend here on campus. So I just wanted to put that out there. But I will be for the walk at 10 a.m. on Saturday. So please come join and get a walking tour, a little bit of history about the neighborhood around Proctor. So that's that one right there. I don't know if people have any specific questions about that before I kind of go into other things. Jody and then John. Oh, there are people commenting that they can't hear me. Okay, there we go. John.
What is this meeting that we had a couple days ago have in relation to the home in Tacoma? Is the Proctor community going to be able to put a little more restriction as far as zoning, changing, increasing traffic? Are we going to be able to come up with design guidelines that can actually be enforced by the Planning Commission that will actually abide by these rules that were written years ago? What is the whole purpose of this? Because that was one thing I wanted to ask everybody, but I didn't want to drag on too much because it just Laura was pretty quick on the meeting. But
Yeah, I know. That's a great
what is
question.
the meaning of this? And is this going to be able to give the community more involvement to say what we can and cannot do?
Yeah, so and what John has mentioned, if everybody heard that, is that we have lots of projects ongoing right now in the city of Tacoma. So just in the Proctor neighborhood itself, we have Home in Tacoma, that's part of this. We have the Urban Design Studio, which is looking just specifically at mixed use centers. We have the Cushman Adams Reuse Project, which is going to be kicking off again here, I think at the beginning of next year. I have to talk to the Tacoma Public Utility staff about when that's going to go. And then we also have Home in Tacoma. So there's 4 things that are talking about land use here in the future of the city, along with the Proctor neighborhood plan. So the Proctor neighborhood plan is, I guess, to be real clear, is focused specifically on the Proctor area. So the mixed use center and the areas right around it, looking at kind of the future of that neighborhood and trying to think about the things that, like you're talking about with code around kind of design and things like that, are kind of the look and feel of what people want to see. And so it's more focused on getting neighborhood voice around kind of what they look and feel of Proctor should be going forward, and kind of balancing all those competing interests. It's going to generate information that can be used in the Urban Design Studio, which is a whole other conversation, which is going to look at design standards in mixed use centers. So one of my goals for staff is, as we're having this conversation about Proctor and the mixed use center, how is that information being translated or transmitted to the Urban Design Studio and the design standards that are going to be coming out of that. Home in Tacoma is separate from this, right? It's separate, but related. So this focuses mostly on just kind of what the future of Proctor looks like. Home in Tacoma is going to be happening around it with the neighborhoods and the different zoning changes. But I don't imagine the conversations that happen here will transmit and be part of what we talk about when we talk about Home in Tacoma, as we think about how we're collecting information from the public. And then what was the other one I was thinking of? So design, kind of going to Urban Design Studio, conversations around the future of Proctor, kicking into conversations around Home in Tacoma and zoning more broadly. And then I am also have talked about this Proctor neighborhood planning project also feeding into somewhat into the Cushman Adams Reuse Project, because as people talk about what they want to see in Proctor and the future of Proctor and impacts of growth and change, that should be part of the conversation. We start looking about these community assets that are sitting nearby with Cushman and Adams. Cushman and Adams are citywide assets, right? They're community assets. I mean, the people nearby have, a lot of impact on that conversation, but that conversation with Cushman Adams can be much broader. Proctor, the neighborhood planning project, is supposed to be more focused on the neighborhood. So I think that was a long-winded way to try to pick up a lot of your questions there, John, but that's my intention. And I told staff, I'd like to have a document, something we can point to, so that when we're having conversations about Proctor a year, 2, 3 years from now, when I'm no longer in this seat and someone else is here, that you'll have something we can hold up and say, hey, remember we had this community conversation about what the future of this neighborhood should look like. We talked about this. How are we doing? Are we getting closer to that? Are we getting farther away from that? How does this fit into all the other things we're doing? Ooh. Okay. Any other questions about? Okay. So along with that, other projects I've been working on. If you haven't, maybe you have seen, or if you're subscribed to my newsletter, one of the big things I've been working on lately is looking at an update to the city's policies around addressing encampments here in the city of Tacoma. So I had an ordinance that I launched with my co-sponsors, Councilor Rumbaugh and Councilor Bushnell, would have been September 13th, which is looking at specifically not allowing encampments around our temporary authorized sites here in the city of Tacoma. So we have 8 of them, and soon to be, there's 8 now and soon to be, either there's 7 currently and soon to be 9, or there are 8 currently and soon to be 10. Currently temporary sites where we're providing housing for people experiencing homelessness, and the policy would just not allow encampments to be erected within 10 blocks from those locations, with the idea being that we want people to take services. We want them to come into shelter. We look at city shelters that we have, like the one up on 6th and Orchard by my house. They're effective, they work, they're quiet, they're calm, they're helping people get off the streets and go on with their lives. Encampments do not do that. Encampments pose a real health and safety issue to the people inside of them, along with the people around them. And if we're thinking about some of the most vulnerable people in our community, the people who have come off our streets and into our shelters, how do we make sure that that's a safe space for them? Along with when we have neighborhoods that have stepped forward and have helped us with what we say, which is if we want to end homelessness, we want to make sure that we have places for people to go and we need neighborhoods to step up and help us find places for people to go. That those neighborhoods also aren't then burdened by encampments. And so that's kind of where what the policy looks like. We've been having conversations at the council level. It came for first reading on September 20th. And then the second reading of the ordinance will be back next week on October 11th, kind of for follow-up conversations. We've been, since I've been working on this for 4 or 5 months now, policy. I had a lot of conversations with people with lived experience of homelessness, with providers that help provide housing and shelter for people experiencing homelessness, with community groups that have been impacted by encampments. And so this is the policy that I brought out to kind of start the conversation. And if you've been following council or the news, it's been a pretty robust conversation among the council. I think it's been good for us to really kind of grapple with the challenges around homelessness, housing, encampments. So that'll be back before the council on the 11th. So, all right. So any questions about that? That's been letting me work on for quite a bit.
I was at a meeting with the mayor of Vancouver, Washington,
Mhm.
and they have that ordinance that you're talking about.
Mhm.
And she explained to me that it has been successful in her area. But one thing that she mentioned to me was that their current issue down there is trying to get the county to get more involved. And they feel that their city has stepped up and done taken care of some housing issues, but they want the county to do more. I'm wondering if we have the same sort of issue here, and is that something that we should be pushing our county representatives on?
That's a great question, Peter. And, actually, I will say that our county historically has not done a lot around homelessness. Historically, Tacoma has been the place where the services have been provided, where the shelter has been provided. And you could look just as simply as a couple of years ago, with Puyallup really looking at trying to push people out of the city of Puyallup and towards the city of Tacoma. That has really changed at the county level. The last couple of years, the county released a comprehensive plan to end homelessness, and they've really been trying to take an active role in how to address it at the county level. One thing I didn't mention with my earlier presentation is the county has funded and is going to help set up a new hotel in Lakewood, the Candlewood Inn. So it's going to host about another 100 people. The county is also looking for a place for some safe parking because, right now, a lot of our options don't address people who are in their cars. The county is also really looking at this community first village out of Austin, Texas. It's a big 300-person village that they have down there that they're looking for a location. And that's really the ambitious project they're working on, which is try to house about 300 people currently experiencing homelessness in kind of a combination of tiny homes, mobile homes, congregate shelter, community. So they are stepping up. It's really good that the county's kind of coming along and really trying to help us with that. Because historically, Tacoma has handled it. I will say I forgot to mention, the mayor, my ordinance the ordinance I brought forward looks only at the temporary shelters in the city of Tacoma. The mayor is bringing forth an ordinance that has been done in coordination with the Puyallup Tribe of Indians, or that they have been talking to us about, which is not allowing people to camp within 200 feet of a body of water, right? So they've raised some concerns around the Puyallup River, the Hylavos, different places of water where you have RVs that have been set up or encampments set up where bio waste is getting into the water and having a real impact on the environmental kind of habitat restoration. And specifically for them, it's their treaty rights around fishing. So that will be brought forward. We announced it back on the 20th, but it will be made public, and there's going to be maps associated with all of these. It's going to be available on Thursday for the public to look more at as we get to our final discussion, or the second reading on October 11th. So, yeah.
Councilmember Hines, we've got 2 questions online.
Okay.
Let me ask those. First one is from Jill. How many community-based shelters do we currently have?
So that's a great question, Jill. We have, like I said, there's either 7 or 8 city authorized temporary shelters, which is where this ordinance is gonna cover. We also have like the Tacoma Rescue Mission, which is, down off that's not what is that street, South Tacoma Way, kind of where it comes down. Tacoma Rescue Mission has 2 locations. There's some other community-based shelters, but this current ordinance is only going to apply to the city authorized temporary sites. People asked, why isn't it also applying to those? And that's just, we started with the kind of temporary authorized sites, because you're thinking about, these are areas where we've set up shelters using the emergency ordinance that are often temporary, that we're just trying to focus this kind of buffer around there. We could look at expansion to other areas if it works, but this is kind of where we want to start to see if this actually does help us address some of the impacts of encampments and see more people raise their hands and move into shelter.
Second question is from Carrie online, and she's asking, how can we get the City of Tacoma Rental Assistance Fund reopened?
What?
Reopened.
Reopened? That's a good question. I thought it was still open. We were funneling it through the county earlier, and then the county had said they were no longer going to manage that. So I had to follow up about that one. I did think it was still open, but I will need to follow up on that, Carrie. And I can get back to you with a specific answer. But we did see it highly utilized during the pandemic, and people still need help with their rent even today. And probably more so in lots of ways without a lot of the federal help. Yeah.
So Carrie, please put your email address in the chat. and
Oh.
We will.
Yes, and she's right that we were taking donations from the Greater Tacoma Community Foundation to help if people were helping with that. And that was my question about, I feel like we're still giving that out, but if not, Carrie, I will follow up with that. Yes.
Thank you for bringing this forward. Quick question. I was disappointed to see the decision, the first vote get delayed
Mhm.
and citing more time to think.
Yeah.
I drive by one of these encampments every day on my way to work. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
Truly horrifying. Why do they need more time to think? Is it jeopardized? Is it going to move forward? What's your current opinion on that?
It's still slated to come back on the 11th. I would say, the news tribune said it was more time to think. I would say specifically there was 2 reasons why it got moved back 2 days. One was the deputy mayor was not going to be there on the 27th for the potential vote. And then Councilman Rumbaugh, because tomorrow is Yom Kippur, is not going to be at our council meeting tomorrow. And so we had some absences that were going to happen on those 2 days. So my reasons for supporting moving it was to make sure we had the whole council for the conversation on the 11th. It wasn't a re-examination of what's going on. But council members may bring some amendments, but we shall see. Those will all be made public on Thursday if there's any potential amendments. But yes. And I guess my only other thing I would add just is to kind of go with this, is I've heard from people kind of across with very different perspectives on this, right? From the, why isn't it bigger? Like, why aren't we impacting more parts of the city? Why are we picking and choosing parts of our city to address this? And of which I would say, we're really just trying to see if this is something we can manage and if this works, right? To see that if we have a smaller area of the city we're focusing on, and we're really connecting the idea of providing services and shelter in specific areas and connecting that to not allowing people to camp, like, does that actually work or not? And so that's kind of the main step, is to see, because what we haven't done anything like that yet. Our whole model is providing shelter and not really, and not having a clear path to address encampments. And then from people who say, like, well, you can't, why are you moving anybody, right? Like, doesn't Martin v. Boise say you can't move people unless there's shelter available? And, to that point is, we do have shelter available. We have beds that are available in Tacoma right now. And we are going to be adding more and more beds for people to go to. And then I think that what is being ignored is just the impact of encampments and encampments, both for the people living inside of them and longer term, and for the neighborhoods in which they're set up. And so trying to kind of split the difference between the two, which is, how do we make sure we have capacity for people to move into shelter, and also kind of address encampments at the same time. And so we have shelters available, not allowing people to camp, as we set up more places, continue to kind of address that issue as it comes forward. So it's a tough question. I mean, no city hasn't answered. If you drive up and down the I-5 corridor from Bellingham to San Diego, every city on the West Coast is addressing it. So this is just something I'm proposing we try here in the city of Tacoma. With that, there's not, that's eating up a lot of my time. I will just say tomorrow, the city manager's proposed budget to the city council will be presented at study session. So she'll be laying out her 2-year budget tomorrow at noon. And that's just the preliminary look of what she's proposing for the budget. Then over the next couple of study sessions for the next month, different departments will be coming in and talking about their budgets and what's in there and what adjustments have been made. I've got a lot of people who have kind of emailed me about concerns about the police department, the fire department, public safety budgets, concerned about projects and programs. So that'll all be made public tomorrow. And so I would encourage you, if you can listen to study session, to check that out. But if not, hopefully you're a subscriber to my newsletter and you'll get a nice little email that will tell you, link you to that information here sometime in the near future. Okay. Thank you all. Oh,
So John, if we want to make comment, is it public comment still being taken regarding supporting the ordinance that you have brought forward?
yeah. So that you can provide written comment up until 24 hours before the meeting on the 11th. And then also on the 11th itself, there'll be public comment taken during the public comment session of the council meeting, which happens pretty close to the beginning.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hines. We really do appreciate your attendance and support to us on all those different issues. Yeah, I know Lowell has a time constraint. Lowell, are you on the Zoom call?
I'm here on Zoom. Hello.
Please, if we could take your report out of sequence, I think that would help.
Thank you so much for accommodating that. I'm Lowell Wise, Executive Director of Tacoma Tree Foundation, and I was with you in person a few months ago, but joining today on Zoom just to give a short update on our programs that we have. It is still feeling like summer outside, but October is typically the beginning of tree planting season in Puget Sound region. So at Tacoma Tree Foundation, we are offering a variety of programs this year, along with our partners, and many of them are available to North End residents. So I wanted to just highlight a couple things tonight. And I'm not sure if I have screen sharing permission, but maybe I'll just give an overview really briefly of what we're up to this fall. So at Tacoma Tree Foundation, we believe everybody has a right to trees in their neighborhood all across Tacoma. And we focus on equity issues as well. So most of our efforts are focused on Hilltop, East Side, South End, and South Tacoma. But as I said, we are hosting events that are open to everyone. And that includes our tree giveaway events. So what I'll do is share, I guess the chat function doesn't work that well for folks that are there in person, but I can put a couple of links in the chat for the people that are joining us on Zoom. And a couple of things to be aware of. So one that I don't want to forget to mention is an event that's happening in the North End to celebrate the trees that that we have in the North End. This is an event that's happening on Saturday, October 29th, meeting at the Wheelock Library there on North 26th Street. And this is going to be a day to walk around the neighborhood and celebrate some of the big trees that make the neighborhood beautiful. So we're really excited to be offering that this year. And yeah, hope people can join us for that. And then the other events are more focused on tree planting. So on October 8th, we have an event called Green Tacoma Day, which is celebrated with our partners at the city and the Conservation District and Metro Parks, everyone who's working together to plant trees across the area. And for this event, we're going to be at the Asia Pacific Cultural Center in South Tacoma. It's on Saturday, October 8th. And folks are welcome to stop by and take home a free tree or shrub for your property. We have a variety of trees available. And there's also going to be a food truck right there in South Park at the Asia Pacific Cultural Center. So it'll be happening from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock on the 8th of October. And then the other thing to just highlight is our biggest tree giveaway of the year is called Branch Out. And Branch Out is happening for the second time this year. It's happening on Veterans Day weekend. So November 10, 11, and 12. And our venue this time is the Veterans of Foreign Wars facility in McKinley neighborhood. So we're going to set up there for a couple of days. It's we have a goal of distributing 500 trees at this fall's Branch Out event, and would really encourage folks to register if you want to guarantee a spot for trees in advance. But we'll also have a walk-up option where folks can come by, see what trees are remaining on that Saturday of Veterans Day weekend, and hopefully take home a nice tree to plant on your property. A couple other things to mention would just be that we are ramping up our volunteer program as well. So we're identifying places to plant trees all across Tacoma, and we need help to be able to do that. So if you're someone who likes to plant trees and get your hands dirty and help out, we've got a couple different opportunities for you to get involved. Branch Out is one of those opportunities. So I will also share the link to that. So I think that's all I'll share unless there are any questions. I can put the link to Branch Out here in the chat as well. And yeah, happy to take questions from the audience.
I just wanted to mention to everybody here who's in the room, we have handouts in the back regarding Branch Out and a lot of information from Tacoma Tree Foundation. So again, thank you for all you're doing. We need more trees.
Thank you so much.
We have another question for you, Lowell.
Hi, Lowell. I wanted to ask, sometimes it's hard to source the things you need for planting the trees, like the gator bags and the things that will give your tree the best success, or the ropes and yeah, the poles and stuff to secure them. Are any of those things available through the Tree Foundation for purchase as a way to support the foundation and get what we need?
Short answer is no. We haven't thought about that as a possible income source, but thank you for that idea. I can tell you that we offer at the Branch Out giveaway, we offer those materials, the stakes and ties, as well as watering bags or buckets. And that's through our partnership with the city. So that's the best opportunity if folks want to get all those tools that are kind of helpful for keeping the tree alive and getting it established. No, we're not currently selling those materials at the Tree Foundation. The only things that we're selling are sweatshirts and t-shirts and things in our shop online.
I think we have another question for you, Lowell, from Brad.
Yeah, Lowell, the question is, many visitors ask, why do we have so many palm trees in Tacoma?
It's our tropical climate. No, I'm not sure why folks like to plant palm trees here, except that they are kind of low maintenance. They take up some space. They offer a little bit of shade. They're not necessarily adapted to Tacoma's climate, but they seem to be able to survive in a lot of cases. So it wouldn't be the tree that I would choose. Seems a lot of place sometimes. And also it doesn't have a huge benefit in terms of capturing stormwater or offering shade. I'm a big fan of a lot of our native conifers and oak trees and things. But yeah, there's information about tree selection on our website too. So that's a great question.
A tree is better than no tree, but if it can be, oak or conifer.
Okay, thank you so much, Lowell, for joining us. So we plan on bringing Lowell back about every 3 months. So we really are concentrating on the tree canopy. Thank you, Georgette, for bringing it to our attention. And thank you, Lowell, for participating.
Thank you all.
Okay, going back to our liaison reports, I see several of you have been very patient with us. Deputy Chief on Fire Department, do I see you?
Yes, yes. How you doing? My
Please.
name is Lee Law, and I am the Deputy Chief of Operations for Tacoma Fire. And I will be your new representative from the department to attend your neighborhood councils. The talking notes that we have are just to basically let you know, remind you that it's Fire Prevention Week, and this is always a good time for you to plan for your escape routes at your home with your family. Test your smoke alarms, choose an outside meeting place, and practice home fire drills and things of that nature. Also, as you probably are aware, but we remind you all the time that October at 10:20 on October 20th is the Great Shakeout. And that's a great way for everyone to practice the drop, cover, and hold. So those are kind of some generic things that I wanted to bring forward to you. But what we're taking a little bit of a different approach to how we represent the department at the neighborhood councils, and we always think we kind of know what people want to hear from us. But I don't expect you to have an answer for me now. But if you could kind of let us know exactly what you want to hear when we come to these neighborhood council meetings, I would really appreciate that, because like I said, we come with some talking points, but we don't know for sure what you might want to hear. And I'll take any questions. There is one additional thing, I'm sorry, that I forgot to mention. Just a reminder that CPR Sunday is coming up this Sunday at Foss High School on the 9th, and it'll start at 8 and go through 2 p.m. So if you're still interested, there's still time to sign up.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chief, and we'll think about the question, and if we've got issues, we'll get back to you.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Next up, Kathy Sims from the City Manager's Office. Kathy, go ahead, please.
Hello, everyone. This is a very quick and high-level, broad overview of some happenings in the city. Let's see here. So we have some things just to be aware of that that the city's been told about. We've got the Comcast Rise grants that opened today, October 3rd. And this is for small businesses owned by women and people of color, including Black, Indigenous, Hispanic, and Asian American owners in Pierce and King counties. And these are small business grants of up to $10,000. And I am going to give Peter this report so you can have all of the links for those. And those applications go through the 16th. Also, there's the Thrive Tacoma Business Fund applications for that, which opened back in September, but are still open. And those provide businesses up to, there's 150,000 in direct financial support for BIPOC and women-owned small businesses in Tacoma. We've got our Tacoma Reads series, Cooking with Jan and Cookie, which is on Saturday, October 8th, 2 to 3 p.m. And there's information about that. That'll take place at Rain Urban Kitchen. Everyone's invited to the Kaleidoscope opening party October 5th. Lots of good stuff happening in the city, and that's at the Star Center. There's information about that. On a little bit more serious and important note, we've got the Compassionate Tacoma recognitions that we give monthly to members of the community who are taking matters into their own hand and operating with compassion and making a difference for Tacoma residents. If you know someone that should receive one of these recognitions, we'd love for you to visit thecityofTacoma.org and look forward to Compassionate Tacoma. I can put the link in regarding that so that we can recognize somebody that really deserves that recognition. I'm going to skip over some things here. We've got, let's see. I've got a long list of things. So some of our upcoming study session policy discussions that are coming up. I think somebody mentioned this already. Tomorrow, we've got the proposed budget that's happening, and the study session happens at noon. And then October 11th, we will hear more on the proposed budget from Public Works, Environmental Services, Tacoma Public Utilities, and the Affordable Housing Action Strategy update. October 18th, proposed budget, Neighborhood and Community Services, Tacoma Fire Department, and Community Economic Development. And then October 25th, also proposed budget. We're going to hear about the Tacoma Public Library, Planning and Development Services, and Tacoma Police Department. So those are going to be really interesting and robust if you can attend those. The Tidy Up Tacoma schedule this month in October, we're doing South Tacoma, Oakland, Madrona, Fern Hills, 6th Avenue, Tacoma Narrows, Reston, Point Defiance, and Proctor. So lots going on there and Tidy Up Tacoma. And let's see, there's a Tacoma Planning Commission meeting that will be happening in person and virtually on October 5th at 5 p.m. And I can put that information in the chat as well. On a fun note, we've got Student Government Day coming up on November 8th, and those applications will be heading out this week. So if you know a student that's interested in local government, we'd love to see their application, and we'd love to host them at the city on the 8th, which is also, of course, Election Day. That's what I got for you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. A great report. So moving right on, because we do have a couple of speakers. So Leslie with the port, do you want to give your report, please?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Just want to say thank you to everybody who came out Saturday to Salmon Homecoming at the Puyallup Fish Hatchery. That was super fun. It was fun to see all the families. And then also on Saturday, thanks to the people who went to the City Club's panel on climate change that we had a port commissioner speaking at. That was super fun too. We had a busy weekend. Coming up this week on Wednesday, the Port Commission and the 5 City Council are having a joint meeting that starts at 4 o'clock at the Fabulous Center on Port of Tacoma Road. And then Thursday is Educator Night at the Washington State History Museum. We will be there to meet with all of our educators. And then Saturday the 8th, I believe that is Green Tacoma Day everywhere. We are doing a project at the Gogolhide wetland site with Forterra from 9 to 12. We'll be installing some plants, we'll be removing some plants, and doing just sort of a general cleanup. And I've got a little flyer for that I can drop into the chat.
Thank you so much, Leslie. And the board, the NENC board, are doing a tour of your environmental projects next week. So we really appreciate that offer that you gave us.
Looking forward to seeing you.
Okay, let's move on to school district. I think Kristen from the school district.
Yes, I am here. Hi, just transitioned from my car to my home office, so I apologize. I'm Kristen Bell, and I haven't had an opportunity to meet any of you quite yet because we've just, our business and finance division has just moved neighborhood council. So I'm eager to meet you in person soon. But a couple things I just want to point out that we've got going on is through a partnership with MultiCare, we've just bringing healthcare to students. And in September, MultiCare opened the second school-based clinic at Mount Tacoma High School. So the clinic is open 2 days a week to all TPS students and provides preventative care, physical exams, treatment for illness and injury, along with mental health supports. And this is the second, like I said, MultiCare clinic. The first one was opened in 2019 at Oakland High School. The second thing that I wanted to point out or bring light to light is that TPS families are eligible for discounted internet service, and every Tacoma Public Schools family is automatically eligible for a program that helps connect people to affordable internet services. And the benefits provide things such as up to $30 a month discount for internet service, up to $75 a month discount for households in qualifying tribal lands, a one-time discount of up to $100 for a laptop, desktop computer, or tablet purchase through a participating provider. And TPS families are eligible for this benefit because we operate under the federal community eligibility provision of student meals. So that's something that I think could be of interest to many families. And then just two more items I want to bring up that want to invite everyone to join us for a community-wide celebration for the grand opening of the new Downing Elementary School. That is going to be on Wednesday, October 26th at 5:30 p.m. And more details you can get on the Downing School website, as well as the Skyline community-wide celebration and grand opening for the Skyline Elementary on October 24th at 6 p.m. And again, the Skyline details would be on their website as well. So those are just, I've got a big list here, but I'm just trying to keep it quick for you. Any questions?
Any questions for Kristen? If not, appreciate you being here, Kristen. It's good to hear from the school district. So any other liaisons before we get on to the Tacoma Public Utility presentation?
I'm
Okay,
here from Tacoma Public Library.
Oh, yes, sorry. Kate, please go ahead.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Larson. I'm the director of Tacoma Public Library. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Tacoma Reads. It's Tacoma Reads season. And if you don't know what that is, Tacoma Reads is a citywide reading program through which we hope to build community via reading a common text. This is a partnership with Tacoma Public Library and the mayor's office. And the themes this year are hope, resilience, and community. And there are 3 titles, one for every age group. Kids and family selection is called Thank You, Amu. This is a really lovely, really nicely illustrated book. The author is a collage artist and a storyteller, and this really comes through in this title for the young ones. This is about Amu, which is Nigerian for queen, but here we mean grandma. Amu enjoys cooking thick red stews for her evening meal. And when the aroma of the stew fills the air, her neighbors arrive one by one for a taste until all is gone except for her generous spirit. So there's a teaser on that one. The youth selection is called We Belong by Cookie Haponia Everman. And Kathy Sims mentioned a program around this book earlier. This is also a debut author. She's a Filipino author living in Seattle, and she came up with this book when her own children were asking for a story at bedtime, and they really wanted to learn more about her, and she realized there wasn't a lot written about her experience as an immigrant, so she wrote this story called We Belong. Finally, the adult selection is called Afterlife by Julia Alvarez. She's a very well-known author. She wrote In the Time of the Butterflies, if you remember that. She will be appearing virtually via Zoom, interviewed with Mayor Victoria Woodards on November 5th. We have tons of great programs around all of these books and around the theme. Please visit our website at tacomalibrary.org/Tacoma Reads to find out more. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Sorry I missed you out. Anybody else that I've missed on the liaisons? If not, John, you're up for your presentation on the rate setting, and I think you were going to address some environmental issues as well.
Yes, thank you so much. Will North End pull up the presentation, or should I share my screen?
If you could share your screen, that would be better, because then we can see both you and that.
Awesome.
Is that possible?
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, I think everyone can see my screen. I'm going to do it like this instead of going to presenter mode. So good to be here. Thank you so much those are really great liaison reports. Always love hearing those. I am here tonight, like you mentioned, with environmental services as well. My name is John Gaines. For those of you that don't know me, Community Relations Manager for Tacoma Public Utilities. I've been supporting you all for the last 5 years. Excited that you're moving to the hybrid model now, so I will be there next month in person. I'm here tonight with Assistant Director Jeff Smith, also with Christina Curran, who is Manager of Rates and Budget for Environmental Services. And then I am here with Jing and Jody from Tacoma Power and Tacoma Water. And I believe Francine Artis is online as well. We don't have a long presentation for you. We'll just share a few slides with you. So I will, and we're here to share our rate and budget proposal. I do want to share that the first public comment happened September 28th. I know that you all had a busy agenda last month, so we weren't able to present last month, but these are proposed rates. And so they're not final until, late November. So with that being said, I will pass it off to my colleagues at Environmental Services, and then I will share from Tacoma Power and Tacoma Water, and then we will stay for some comments and questions.
Great. Thanks so much, John. So as John mentioned, my name is Christina Curran, and I'm with the Environmental Services Department in our Director's Office. And I'm here to speak to the rates for our 3 utilities. So Environmental Services provides stormwater, wastewater, and then solid waste, which is our garbage and recycling. And so you'll see on the screen our proposed rate increases for 2023 and 2024. So for stormwater, we're proposing rate increases that would be about an additional $2 a month for the average residential customer, a little under $5 per month increase for the average wastewater customer, and then a little over $2 for those customers who have a 60-gallon can with our solid waste utility. There's a number of drivers that are factoring into these rate increases. Just like many of you may be experiencing in your day-to-day lives, the impacts of inflation, we feel those same inflationary pressures at our utilities. So our operating costs have increased substantially. We are a public, not-for-profit utility, so we're not raising revenue to generate a profit. We're only increasing rates to cover our costs of providing services to our customers, but those costs have grown substantially. And we're also then still recovering from the pandemic as well. And so we're experiencing construction inflation. So we tend to have significant asset needs and asset management needs, supply chain issues, and just another number of issues. So I know John is also going to speak to how we're then supporting our most vulnerable customers, because when we bring these rate increases, especially of this magnitude, it's not something we do lightly. And so we take it very seriously. And so we also want to make sure that when then we're supporting those potentially vulnerable members of our community. So I'll pass it back to John to speak to some of those points that I just kind of alluded to, and also to go over the rates for Tacoma Public Utilities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christina. So just as a reminder, Tacoma Power, we provide electricity to 183,000 customers throughout our service territory, and Tacoma Water provides drinking water to over 108,000 customers throughout our service territory. Then, of course, we have Tacoma Rail. Like Christina mentioned, I'm just going to briefly share the proposed rates, and then I'm going to jump ahead toward the end and just share some of the things that we're doing for customers. We understand that a lot of folks are still hurting, but we don't charge more than what we have to run the utility. So with that being said, I do want to add to this year was the first year we had a listening session. So that happened May 26th, where we received a lot of good feedback and comments from folks, because we want to get out as early and as often as possible to share this with folks so they can start to plan. So with that being said, for Tacoma Power, the rate adjustment projections for 2023, system averages is 3.5% in 2023 and 2024. And then the average residential increases is 3.9% in 2023 and 2024. And what that looks like for the average monthly increase for residents in 2023 and 2024 is $3.07 both years. And now for Tacoma Water, the rate adjustment projections for the system average, they're both 4% in 2023 and 2024. And then how that looks for average residential increases is 4.2% in 2023 and 2024. Because we're in the north and inside the city, I'll just focus on inside the city. That's $1 and about 70-cent average monthly increase in 2023, and then $1.80 average monthly increase in 2024. I do want to pause for a moment just to check and see if there's any questions or comments right now. If not, I want to just quickly go over some of the customer assistance programs.
No questions in the room, John.
Awesome. So just quickly, I know there's 2 more presentations after us. So just quickly, I want to share a few things that we're doing for folks, or trying to do for folks to help them. One, we increased our discount program from 30 to 35%. This program gives a 35% discount on electricity and drinking water. And for those in Tacoma, solid waste, wastewater, recycling, and stormwater. A couple of the requirements: one, you have to have a current TPU account in your name. You have to be 62 years or older, or an adult currently qualifying for receiving disability income. You are a single occupant, head of household. Your current home is your primary residence. And then also your household meets the income qualified guidelines. Another program I want to discuss is the BCAP Plus program. Customers who are income qualified will receive an automatic credit of $468 annually. If the customer makes on-time payments, they receive a full credit of $888 annually. Now, this is extremely important to mention. It was brought to my attention last week that this program is underutilized. So there's, I think I heard close to 30,000 people in our community that qualify for the program. And right now, I think it's just over 1,000 folks that are utilizing it. And so definitely want to do a better job at spreading those messages. So I do have some documents that I can share with the North End and other groups that I've been sharing, where folks can provide this information on their Facebook and social media platforms. I do want to share long-term payment plans for balances during COVID moratorium has ended, but I know our customer services are working with folks on solutions and payment plans to help those folks stay connected. And as always, you can visit us at mytpu.org for assistance or call, and then I will leave my information in the chat. We'll also provide some more information in the chat that will help folks bring attention to the current schedule and the current meeting structure and when those meetings are happening, so folks can continue to engage. At our last public comment last week, I think we had 4 people share just the need to continue to advertise and share more information on some of our assistance programs. And that is our presentation. It was short. We really just want any comments or questions. There's also a way you can provide comments and questions online. I'll provide that link in the chat.
Any questions for John on the rate or issues? Well, again, thank you very much, John, and Christina, for coming and presenting to us. We love the fact that we're on public power and public water. So I think we're going to move into our main presenter from here, unless is Santa still here? Santa was here last month and I thought he was going to come back, but I don't see him in the room. So Carl, can I introduce you? And Carl is going to be talking to us. There he is. So Carl, go ahead, please.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And unfortunately, I have to come in remotely. I was really looking forward to being there in person, but thank you again for accommodating me. So with that, I'll go ahead and share my screen and get on with the presentation here. So first off, just a quick introduction. My name is Carl Metz. I work in the Urban Design Studio section of the Long Range Planning Department. I am joined tonight in the audience by my colleague Stephen Antipit. So he'll be available to answer any other questions as well at the end of the presentation. So I'm here tonight to, I've spoken with you folks before. I think back in March, I provided a quick overview, just touching base on our work on developing a design review program within the city. Spent some time. Things have progressed in the development of that program. So it's really a good time to check in with the different neighborhood councils, and I really appreciate the invitation to be here. I want to provide an overview on the project itself, where we're looking for the program, the urban design review, to be applicable, what the review process will look like. We have some early draft design guidelines that I want to provide a preview to in terms of its overall structure, the various sections and how it's organized, and then I have a draft example site that starts to demonstrate how the guidelines will affect and can inform how developments are approached from the perspective of a developer as they're going through the design process on their end. And then also I have some comments on as it relates to public participation opportunities, be it now and as we're developing the program, and then onward once it's set up, what that might look like. So quickly, the Urban Design Review Project was initiated by the City Council action to ensure that new development is consistent with the visions and adopted design related policies established for the city's urban neighborhoods. Some of the outcomes that we're looking at in this effort is to establish a urban design review program. This will ensure that larger developments are developed in a manner that are consistent with the said adopted policies and goals and visions that the city has adopted. It will provide a transparent and efficient path for development proposals to seek departures. Currently, those are handled as variances. These will be a little bit different, but effectively they're the same, but it's a little bit more of a hopefully a better and more transparent process to make sure that departures are reasonable and that they're still achieving and in line with the overarching goals and policies of the city. And finally, it'll be developing a set of documents such as the urban design guidelines that will begin to establish a common vocabulary for all program participants and importantly, the general public as well. So to make sure that we're all using the same types of language and we don't get too lost in jargon, or at least that everyone understands what we mean when we say a certain thing. So again, the goals of the program are to improve the quality of life in Tacoma through high quality design, raise awareness and appreciation for design in the city, implement those policies and goals for design within the built environment. And the benefits of design review are going to be that the community at large benefits from enhanced quality of life from the projects, assures that projects are compatible with nearby and adjacent properties, and that it promotes design excellence within the city, and it provides flexibility for developers while ensuring that those urban design goals are being met or exceeded. So one common question that we get is why won't every new building or new development be subject to the urban design review? Well, this is a new process. It's an entirely from scratch. We don't really have anything set in up that will operate like this, other than our landmarks commission. They're the most similar analog, I would say, to the city currently for something like this. So at launch, we're looking to make sure that it's sized appropriately and trying to balance the program goals that I just walked through, that it's effective and that it doesn't get bogged down with unnecessary delays through the permitting process, and that it's sized to just capacity in terms of staffing and the design review board. So at launch, we'll be focusing on our high growth areas and high impact developments within those areas. And we're also looking to avoid overlapping with Home in Tacoma, because as people have mentioned even tonight, Home in Tacoma will be grappling with some of these very similar issues in terms of compatibility and design standards and those sorts of things, but it's operating at a different scale than what we're focused on at launch. So we wanted to separate these two different efforts. At some point in the future, we'll look at how those, how we might incorporate some of the lessons learned through that process and vice versa. So we'll be focusing on the mixed use centers. These are going to be the neighborhood mixed use centers. So, Proctor and 6th Avenue are the ones that are within the north end. But it also includes all the Crossroads mixed use centers, as well as the entirety of the downtown regional growth center and the Tacoma Mall area. And we're looking at larger buildings. This hasn't been set in stone quite yet, but for example, something 50,000 square feet and above, things that below that, there might be something, again, we haven't quite locked that in, but that's just an example. So something of a little bit more significant size. Some of the newer developments in the Proctor area, I would say those mixed use 5/1 developments that have been are being developed as of late. I would say those are within our scope. Another example would be like a larger site. So if it's a large site, but maybe the building isn't necessarily particularly large, maybe not something that you would see, in our neighborhood mixed use centers because they're relatively compact, but in our crossroad centers, they have a little bit more of a suburban, lower intensity historically. So the sites start to get a little bit bigger. So that's where those are probably going to be more applicable. Process-wise, as it's currently drafted, we're anticipating, this as a 6-step phase, that those first 3 are really the design review component. So there's preliminary consultation between the developer and design team and staff. And then there's a formal concept review, and then a final review, which is going to be conducted either at an administrative level and then or at a design review board level, both of which will have some levels of public participation or public comment, ability to provide comment and testimony. But again, it'll be different processes is what we're thinking. And those administrative level and versus board level would probably be distinguished by the project size. So, for example, 40,000 to 80,000 square feet, maybe those projects would be administrative level. Anything above that would go to a design review board. So as far as the structure of our current draft of design guidelines, it's all structured around these 7 focus areas. And I'll briefly walk through each of these 7. The first being site planning. This is describing the arrangement of structures and access. It's really all encompassing. It's the overall picture of the development site. Each of the 7 has an associated design objective. These will be effectively review criteria that each development, each application would need to demonstrate that they're meeting the design objective for each of the 7. So they'll have to, and I don't know if it's necessary to walk, to read each of these out, but I just want to give a flavor of exactly kind of our approach and how these will be met. So connectivity starts to get at how one approaches and gets to a site, and then in larger sites, how they get through a site. So, developments that have multiple buildings, it becomes particularly important, or where maybe a new street is necessary to establish a more refined block pattern. Architectural composition, this starts to address consider the building's bulk, form, mass, and scale, as well, and general compatibility with the surrounding area as appropriate. Public realm gets at the areas that are public and semi-public areas, such as sidewalks and streets, how the building interfaces with the public right-of-way primarily, as well as these kind of quasi or semi-public areas like courtyards and plazas. Open space describes the open space elements, how they're sited and designed within the development. These are going to include public and other outdoor areas. This gets at making sure that the open spaces design is reflective of their purpose and intent. Character, culture, and heritage speaks to how new development can address the distinct geographic, cultural, and architectural character of our neighborhoods. This includes both built and social histories and the natural environment. And then finally, climate responsiveness. This includes reviewing developments and how they demonstrate integrated design solutions and long-term sustainable best practices within the built environment, and primarily focuses on how development supports the implementation and goals of the climate action plan. And then beyond that, underneath for each 7, there'll be a number of guidelines that are associated with each of these 7. So the design objective, as I stated, that will work as the review criterion. And since it applies to every development, they're written broadly and are meant to be applicable to all sites. The design guidelines are a little bit more context sensitive. There might be one that is more generally applicable, but some of them are going to be they're not going to come into not going to be relevant to each development site. So for example, this one that I pulled out, we have a guideline that's locate and orient buildings in close proximity to abutting streets and internal connections. That applies to all development sites. Then beyond that, providing efficient and direct paths from buildings, abutting streets, paths, and other connections, mostly applicable to larger sites. And then integrating accessible paths to all users in the site's design. And then that's going to be, again, mostly applicable to larger sites or those with multiple buildings. And then beyond that, underneath each guideline, there will be a number of design approaches to consider. And these are just examples of approaches that can be considered by the design team to implement the guidelines and then therefore meet the design objective. But it's not meant to be exhaustive or in any manner used as a checklist for approval. It's just to help provide additional guidance to the developer. So one site that we mocked up, some can figure out where we use this as a baseline, but we tweaked some things to try and make it a little bit more applicable to a generally not so much a specific site. But you can see in a site like this where maybe it butts a core pedestrian street, maybe at the edge of a neighborhood, mixed use center area. So you have these sensitive transition considerations, but also pedestrian street where you were looking for an active and vibrant street frontage, as well as alley access. So in this scenario, the developer team, design team identified some of the key, maybe high priority focus areas, and then most relevant guidelines that they would want to key in on. Again, all 7 of the design objectives for the 7 focus areas would need to be met, and they would need to address that in their application. But site to site, each of these, some are going to be more important than others. And it really depends on the context of the surrounding area as well as the site characteristics. And that's really what distinguishes design guidelines and design review and the prescriptive, design standards that we currently have in place, where those are universal. They have to be met regardless of the unique characteristics design objectives are meant to be qualitative, take into consideration the unique characteristics and aspects of the site. So there are going to be priorities site by site. So beyond that, they went and they identified maybe some of the design approaches to consider that might help inform their approach to the development. So, you know, they're emphasizing the public-private transitions along the residential street. As you can see on the right-hand side, they added this mixed-use building. It's, sorry, go back. Oh, no, they don't have that. It's an entirely residential building, but they put some direct, you know, street-fronted townhouse, direct access townhouses abutting that residential street on that transition at the boundary of the mixed-use center. So again, trying to see how their development can address and respond to that context. They're incorporating vertical and horizontal massing breaks to help soften up and break up the overall massing of the building. Incorporating, again, focusing on those transition on the residential streets, on the public realm, and so forth. And these are some examples of what that might look like, you know, emphasizing the stoops and the landscaping, whether it be setting the entrances back, raising them up, having a well-defined transition, private to public space. But also, you know, design review is not meant to be programming specific within the building. We're not changing the underlying zoning and the uses that are permitted within that. That's another, you know, that's another tool that design review is not going to be, you know, really affecting. And so in this example, you know, it could be a real mixed use building with commercial uses on the ground floor, and you know, even higher sensitivity along that residential street. So what sort of non-residential uses could be on that residential street? So we would look for something that looks maybe more like, less like a bustling cafe or a restaurant uses, but maybe professional offices, or even live, work, live units, or even like boutique retail. So that is a quick summary of what we have right now, what we've developed in our draft guideline document. We've presented some early, this early version just a couple of weeks ago to the Planning Commission, and we're going forward and further refining that document as of now in preparation for public review and more formal review at Planning Commission and City Council. We also did have an online survey that was up through the last couple months through August and September, and it just closed up just this past weekend. And we had just a quick summary. We had 314 respondents. The questions, first of all, thank you for anyone in attendance who participated. Your feedback is really greatly appreciated and really helpful to our efforts here. But for those who didn't, you know, we asked questions regarding those urban design priorities that I just reviewed. Maybe some special circumstances where design review might be most important. We asked folks to identify any favorite places, particularly new development, where they think new development's getting it right and has been really good. Some ideas for public engagement for the program once it's launched. And we want to identify that there were many responses that touched on related issues, but maybe not within the scope of design review when it stood up. So we heard that there was an interest in investing and focusing on transit, biking, and walking. Again, design review is very much focused on how development supports those things, but not so much from the public side of investing in that infrastructure that also supports those goals. We heard comments related to housing affordability and supply. Again, certainly absolutely critical and important to the city, but not something that design review is going to have much effect or any effect on. Equitable and development, absolutely important, but again, not so much design review as it's currently drafted and envisioned. And we heard a range of opinions from, ranging from outright hostility towards the idea of having design review, all the way to statements that feeling that any new development should be subject to this sort of design review. So our current approach is somewhere in the middle. Again, to my points earlier, that we're trying to strike that balance, with the understanding that this is an entirely new venture for the city, a new process, and we want to make sure that we get it right as best as possible at launch. And we did also ask folks to provide their zip codes, just so we know where people are chiming in from. And it was interesting. Wanted to highlight and give props to the North End folks for being active participants. They don't quite line up with the neighborhood councils, but we had really high participation from the UPS Proctor area, as well as the stadium and North Slope area, as well as our East Side and McKinley and Hilltop folks. So where we're at and where public participation opportunities might present themselves as of right now in the program development. Like I said, we had that online survey, and but going on beyond that, we're always welcome to either myself or Stephen or to the design review email address, where we always appreciate and love to field questions or hear comments, and would love your input at any time. So that's definitely welcome and ongoing. But as we start going to the Planning Commission and City Council through the public review process, that would be another opportunity to provide comment. And then once it's up and running, project applications, written comments to staff or the review board prior to decisions would be offered. There'd be some sort of public notice and an opportunity to provide comments. And then, there's a potential for informal applicant-led neighborhood meetings. Again, we're still developing this, so if you have a strong opinion on that, we would welcome your input on that as well. And then there would be periodic program review at City Council. So those can be provided, comment can be provided by individuals or neighborhood councils as well. Next steps, like I said, we're continuing to revise and refine the draft guidelines that we have and other supporting documents. We're preparing for public review. We'll be going to the Planning Commission for a more detailed review of our online engagement survey in a couple weeks on the 19th. And then later this year, we'll be providing kind of summary amendment preview packages, not the actual text, but the ideas to Planning Commission later on this year for the actual administration of the program and implementing things. So like the geographies, the applicability thresholds, the design review board and its organization. And then we do anticipate there being I'd say discrete or limited package of some changes to our existing building design standards that we currently have in the land use code. I wouldn't look for a wholesale overview or review or reconstruction of our current design standards, but there might be a few changes here and there. So that would be a separate stop to the Planning Commission. And then we're looking for a consolidated project package early next year to the Planning Commission, then to City Council beyond that. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions, and I'll take it off share.
We've got a question for you, Carl, in the room. So you've got
Great.
If you were to look back over all the designs of the buildings in the Proctor District, even in the stadium, would you have any polite criticism in regards to what should have been, could have been, or what you would have done differently, just so we get an idea as far as what your view is going to be moving this point forward? And then my second question is going to be, are your focal points going to be in the Stadium District, the Proctor District, or are you going to be getting into the more major corridors like 6th Ave that's already got transportation, Pacific Ave that's already got transportation, South Tacoma Way, even Pearl Street that's already got transportation? Would your focal points be more on those to increase density, or is this going to be some changes just for the Proctor District that you're focusing on right now?
So I'll answer your maybe your second question, your last question, just for clarification. So we're not changing the underlying zoning or development standards that are currently in place within any of these areas. So when you talk about increasing density or anything along those lines, that's not the function and purpose of the design review program that we're looking to do. We're looking at the development and how it's presented and what that looks like. So we're not really looking to make changes to height, maximum height allowances within the zoning code, or any of those sorts of programs. That might be something that gets looked at in a separate effort, but for a design review program, that's not a function that we're looking at. It's really much more about how the building is, presenting to the, is positioned on the site, where entrances are located along that street frontage, making sure that it's supporting other broader community goals related to supporting transit and walkability, connectivity to and through the site, as well as how the building architecture does address and respond to any sensitivities related to nearby development. And I would say that's within the view, not necessarily just of what's currently existing, but it's also keeping in mind what is permitted to be developed and envisioned in that area. So within these mixed use centers, these are our identified growth centers. They're slotted, in which is reflective in their zoning for, in a lot of situations, more intense development than what it's currently there now. So it isn't, that's it, that it's I'll just preface that as that. As far as focuses on the program, I wouldn't say that we're focusing on any one of the individual mixed use centers like Proctor or Stadium. Though I highlighted those because those are within the North End area. We're focusing on all of our mixed use centers, the entirety of the downtown and the Tacoma Mall area. And we're not so much focused on the corridor areas because that gets to the overlap with the Home in Tacoma, because many of the changes with the low scale and mid scale with the Home in Tacoma effort were informed by the location and proximity along the corridor areas. So that was something that we decided to set aside, frankly, for just to avoid confusion at launch, to not overlap our efforts and confuse folks with the very distinct Home in Tacoma effort and what we're trying to do with design review. I hope that answers your question. Oh, and to the question on if I have opinions and takes on some of the recent developments in Proctor, I'm not going to provide any great details. I would definitely think that they would look into some respect differently if they came through a design review. I wouldn't promise that or sell it, present it as them being drastically different in terms of their overall size and scale of those buildings. But there may have been some things here and there that would have been different.
Alex, you have a question?
I do. Yeah. Thanks, Peter. And thanks, Carl. Couple questions. One, and I know you said you're just looking at this number right now, but the 50,000 square foot cutoff, assuming that's just like the total floor area, right? Not the size of the, okay, cool. Are you looking at doing that? So was that the cutoff for administrative review, or was that the cutoff for urban design standards in general?
You know, well, we have, so just to, not to nitpick or anything like that, but we do have standard. This is something that we're just.
Right,
we're
sorry,
also-
you're right, yeah, going through the design process.
Yeah,
then,
yeah. That was a slightly arbitrary number that I was just trying to give, you know, present an idea of where that might be. I would guess that that might be just closer to the entry point for administrative. And then design review is going to be, you know, somewhere above that. So I think 50,000, it might be a little, it might be 40,000. It might be 50, you know, for administrative, and then design review board might be, you know, 60 or 80,000. Again, with in mind of, you know, the difficulty is that the scale of development within, you know, say for example, an 80,000 or a 60,000 square foot building in a neighborhood mixed use center like Proctor, is going to have a different impact because of the contexts are different than a similarly sized building within the downtown area. Those contexts are just are really different. So, you know, having a sliding scale for different areas is something that we looked at, and maybe that might be something that we develop and present as an option.
Yeah,
but it does
So,
add
yeah,
a
I
level
would-
of complexity that we're also trying to keep it simple at launch too.
Right.
So it's one of those balancing trade-offs.
No, I hear you. I guess just last thing. So yeah, I would definitely, that would be my, it's not recommendation, but I think that'd be great because, you know, in Proctor, obviously we're looking at much different scale buildings in the Tacoma Mall area. For example, you know, a 50,000 square foot building would cover Madison 25, Proctor Station. I don't know if it might cover the newest one, Proctor 3. It wouldn't cover the new one going up at where Jasminka, going to be taken down. There's going to be a really skinny, I think maybe 4/1 or 3/, it might be like masonry or something, not a 4 or 5, but so it wouldn't cover that. So I guess my point being is that it'd be nice to, if it's not going to be less than that for every mixed use center, maybe have different ones based on the size of development you expect, because I'm just afraid we have a lot of small lots, you know, in Proctor that if they do redevelop like Jasminka, which I think is strange, they're building this tall, they're not trying to consolidate anything, but maybe they couldn't make it happen. We're going to end up just with a bunch of small buildings that fall under the, you know, the threshold, and then we're not going to be able to achieve the design we're looking for because they're falling under that, you know, the 50,000, 30,000, whatever. I think the Jasminka building's about 15,000. I looked, so that wouldn't even be close, obviously. So that's my biggest concern, is just the developers decide to kind of piecemeal instead of consolidating some of the properties. It's not going to cover it. But I get it's a citywide program, but it'd be nice if there was a little bit of a, you know, differentiation between the development scale expected for each one.
Yeah, and I'll just highlight. I think I saw Stephen, my colleague, added a comment in the chat talking about some of the things that informed these numbers and how we arrived at what are these numbers that we do arrive at. They're based on permit history that we've been seeing. We didn't qualify them or separate them out from location to location.
Right.
We kind of, because it's just there's a lot of permit data to weed through in doing that data analysis. But we're trying to right size it to make sure, you know, to try that we don't bog down the design review board so there aren't delays. So they can't see everything to a board. But administrative as well, at launch, there are going to be inherent limitations to staffing. Again, at launch, we can look at it going forward. There will definitely be opportunities to expand or change and pivot as we go forward. It's not set in stone what we arrive at first. But to your point, as far as the smaller buildings, you know, the design guidelines, the way that we're thinking about it, it's not a wholesale like replacement of our existing building design standards. You know, we have these prescriptive standards that we think do a reasonably good job of setting a floor of, you know, this baseline of acceptable, you know, they're achieving them. And the biggest challenge, I think, is when you start to scale those developments and buildings up. Are they as effective as they get bigger and bigger, or are those getting development that is appropriate from an urban design standpoint does it get more complex and more challenging and warrant a little bit more qualitative review, less of, just measurable, insert these things and then that's a fine building. And then the relative impact, a smaller building is going to have a relatively smaller impact on the overall area. So your
Right.
point is well taken. At some point we have to draw a line based on balancing all of these different
Sure. And
considerations.
last
It's not
question,
that they're
Peter, I
less
know you
important.
got, yeah, no, I hear you. Last, sorry,
Yeah.
our project's gonna be vested with their land use application, or is it gonna be a building permit vest, because I'm just wondering about projects that are, in the pipeline that don't have a building permit, construction permit, or I'm assuming they'll vest at the site plan review or whatever.
Yeah, there'll be some sort of vesting or some sort of expiration, I would think, at some point, if they have to go through a review. We haven't gotten to that point yet of establishing what that looks like.
Cool, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Alex. I think I don't see any more questions in the room and nobody's got their hand raised. So I'm just going to say thank you very much, Carl, and thank you, Stephen, for joining us. It looks as though we'll be seeing you back sometime next year, hopefully in person, to give the feedback on how the process is going.
Absolutely. And if Stephen hasn't already, I'll go ahead and put our email in the chat, and we certainly welcome any questions or comments at any time. Thank you again for that. For having us.
Thank you, Carl.
Yes.
Okay, I think we can wrap this up in the 2 minutes we have left. We have under old business, those of you that were here last month, remember there was a discussion of the College Park Historic District. NENC was reached out to by the group who's applying for the designation, who asked us to go to the city attorney for some clarification, which we did, and we got an answer from the city attorney. Following that, we've had quite a bit of discussion within the board, and we have developed a letter that we are planning to submit on Wednesday at the hearing by the Planning Commission. That letter, so we need a motion to approve the letter that has been distributed among the board. Do I have somebody nominated? Jody? Jody is nominating. Second from Georgette. Any discussion? If not, can I have a vote in favor of sending that letter as distributed? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Is there any new business? Hearing no new business, we are going to adjourn at 7:59. Next month, we have Home in Tacoma Phase 2 with Elliot Barnett. So look forward to seeing you. Thank you. This was great attendance from the liaison. Those of you that are still on, we really do appreciate seeing you all again. We sort of were getting lonely without you. So you came back in force this month. Thank you very much. We're done.
Cool, thanks, Peter.